A$AP Rocky's easily become one of the more successful rappers to come out over the past decade. With 3 albums, a mixtape, and an unimaginable number of bras in his catalog, Rocky's success as a rapper will always be his biggest achievement. But when we look past his career as just being an artist, it's an even more impressive one. From directing and acting, to running a music festival, and even birthing a creative agency, Rocky's been the model for success not only as a rapper, but as a creative genius. And while he is one of the few timeless acts we have left in the industry, Rocky's career served as an inspiration to many artists, both inside and outside of the genre. So I wanted to go back today and look at just how much influence Rocky's really had on this new generation of creatives. So to fully understand Rocky's influence in not only hip-hop but culture in general, we have to take a trip back to around 2011. Coming up in Harlem with his group the A$AP Mob, Rocky's debut was full of breakout hits and the fan favorite mixtape, Live Love A$AP. Us original fans remember the days of the pesos and the purple swags, but something we also noticed from the jump was Rocky's swag himself. Whether it was southern influences in his music or helping create a new lane for fashion, mixing streetwear with designer, a young Rocky would combine these passions and see a ton of success that would propel his career throughout the early 2010s. In years to come, he and his group's influence were spread both in fashion and music all around the world. And whether it was Rocky's single Fucking Problems, Ferg Shaba, Nash Traumatic, The Posse Got Hella Hoes, or even Barry's clothing brand V-Lone, this gave the collective headway into this new era of hip-hop. And all under the vision and direction of the late great A$AP Yams, all eyes were on the Harlem group's success in the industry, and this is where I wanted to start today's video. Anyone who's an A$AP Rocky fan knows about the long web that he's cast both in and outside of hip-hop. From his influence in popularizing some of our favorite brands, to his appreciation for all forms of art, Rocky's managed to embody what it means to have that quote-unquote it factor. And while developing into the artist he is today, Rocky's early years were spent not only in the studio, but curating, networking, and building his brand across all of culture. Tapping into new scenes that weren't just music and building the brand A$AP, Rocky's been able to enlist creative directors, artists, photographers, curators, and designers to work on just about anything. And if we skip around to the official opening of his creative agency OG, he's always been a step ahead, using music as a springboard for everything. But before we got to this point, there was turbulence. Between balancing group dynamics and focusing on his solo career, Rocky's path was a little different. Following the passing of A$AP Yams in 2015, Rocky stepped up and picked up where Yams left off. We saw Rocky's first project without Yams at long last A$AP. We would also see the annual festival Yams Day pop up and evolve, and at the same time, Rocky would be laying down the foundation for what OG is today. He and the mob members would also go on to create 2 of my personal favorites, the Cozy Tapes and OG DVDs. But most importantly, during this time, Rocky was building himself and his friends a creative platform to grow from. Rocky exists in this space between creativity, business, and art, if you understand where I'm coming from. He, alongside artists like Diddy, Pharrell, Tyler the Creator, and might I say it, early Kanye, helped break down the stereotypical looks and capabilities of artists moving throughout the last 20 years. Artists like themselves have become the model for success when it comes to standing the test of time, trying new things that usually wouldn't fit the description, and staying ahead was something that they set the blueprint for. Something I noticed personally that they all have in common is that they never stopped taking the chance to innovate. For them, whether it was with their sounds, images, style, or their business, they made it happen. For instance, Tyler came into the industry an oddball and changed his image after the breakup of Odd Future. But at that same time, he still evolved not only with his music, but golf and Camp Flognoff see major success as a result. For the sake of Rocky, I want to look back to his entrance into the industry like I did earlier. He was just straight up and down different. The way he sounded was the last thing you would expect from an artist in Harlem, but that was Rocky. He incorporated that new swag, mixing his interests, all while showing love to the people that influenced him. And while that path to success was different, he made a push to a very stagnant and region-bound music industry, showing that you could rework your sound and your image to whatever you wanted it to, and just let your appeal and your creativity do the talking.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you too, babe. And you definitely have a weird vibe to you, so swag, A$AP. I'm out this.
And while some might say his evolution was just a matter of growing up and learning, there are plenty of artists that we can think of that have had little to no influence from the beginning of their careers to now. And throughout the years, we've seen Rocky continue to innovate and break down more barriers. So this leads me to his 2018 project, Testing. Following his best project by far in my opinion, at long last A$AP, Rocky threw a curveball with the project Testing. I like the album fine personally. It's imperfect most definitely, but it was everything you would expect for an experimental project. It was innovative, and mixing this new sound with the growth of Og and the beginning of the Cozy Tape series, Rocky's direction seemingly changed and it would become a staple for the impact he has on today's creatives. His artistry turned into more so creative directing, kind of giving him this canvas to take on more abstract projects that weren't the norm. His fashion sense was changing and his sound was clearly in development, testing out new flows and cadences. The art surrounding his music was something completely new, and we saw that take a huge shift, and that's something that largely sets him apart from so many artists now. And with the help of Og, whether it was a brand collaboration or a music video, he kept pushing the boundary on what creative success looks like, and that was the difference. Rocky, in a way, mastered his own creativity, and I think this perfectly captures his attitude toward creating.
She swallowed on her tonsils. Swear to God, came out the nostrils. Yeah, Cola King when I came in, Nova came in, you know the name. Soda like a soda cane, candy cane and the nose the same.
Something unique I've noticed looking back on his career so far is that he never looked to fit in. He never really shied away from embracing culture, but he's always taken a different approach since he came into the industry. Whether it's taking creative lead with brands or even working on the next wave in culture, Rocky's always been the one to inject himself into all of his work. A project like Testing that featured a much different sound, diverted from the Rocky we are all accustomed to both sonically and visually. We've seen him curate and develop artists and creatives, whether it was a young Cardi or Smokey Margella, or even a young Ian Connor and Shane Gonzalez. The aesthetics of his brand never changed. He embraced the different but never compromised the original artistry for the sake of what sells. As he said more recently in an interview, and I quote, "I don't just rap, I make music." That's where Rocky truly falls. He's become this all-around icon bridging fashion and hip-hop and art and culture, and he's managed to inspire an entire generation with his personality and approach. We've all seen Rocky at the Met Gala, and at the same time, we've watched him do a pop-up with his homeboys in the middle of his hood. There's no place that he doesn't really exist. He's embodied everything to be an innovator in this space and has kind of become this chameleon bridging together different cultures. Except for this shit. But anyways, Rocky's impact as an artist has spread far and wide without a doubt. Whether it's on stage, behind the scenes, or in your Grail wish list, Flacco's had a hand in molding an entire generation. He's perfected world building solely on aesthetic, and even if he didn't directly impact you, somebody you know has definitely been influenced by the many hats of Flacco. And 4 projects and a decade later, that influence is still felt all over the fashion and music industries. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Let me know how you guys feel about Rocky and his upcoming project. If you have a favorite project of his, let me know in the comments below, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Leek out. Peace.